So today we've got some good news and some bad news as far as this car. What's going on, guys? Kevin here, back again with another video on the Six Streets YouTube channel. Hope you're having a great day. So we're starting 2021 off in a great way and a not so good way as well. I will get into that shortly, but real quick, I'm going to give you an update on both cars and what has happened. We're going to start with the Honda back there, since the bulk of this video is going to be about the Supra. So what's going on with the Prelude, other than the fact that it looks absolutely disgusting right now because of, well, rain, construction in the area, and, well, birds just you know, crapping on it. It's been amazing, really, other than one problem I'll get into later. But let's start with the good. The H&R springs and Coney yellow combo that we switched into this car a couple weeks ago, which the video's up on the channel, of course. It's the last video I uploaded. The car's been riding great on it, but the car always had a CPS problem from months ago that would sometimes allow me to drive the car, others it would go into limp mode. And I tried to fix it, but my fault. I decided to cheap out. I tried a cheap CPS, even if I knew I shouldn't have, because I did everything OEM on the Lexus, and I figured the Honda, you know, not as expensive a car, and, well, I probably shouldn't put that much money into it. So I tried to go cheap and it didn't work. But oh well, I have a friend that can hook it up with a CPS. We're gonna go at it one more time, and this time I actually know what I'm doing, so I'll be able to make a proper video on how to change your CPS and go over all the details of what you got to do for the job. So that's what's up with this one. Down for a bit. And the Supra, let's start with the unfortunate news first. And to keep it short and sweet, you see the V1 is, well, not connected, just sitting there, and that's because it fried itself. The V1 is officially fried. Check spark, there was no spark. Fuel pumps didn't want to turn on anymore, and even then the car was giving me very inconsistent AFRs. It would sometimes shut off at high mile an hour in like 5th gear. Overall, the car was just not running right. You know, one cold night it'll give me a lean AFR, the next it'll give me a rich AFR, which usually on warmer nights it should be a little richer. And then other nights that it was actually warm, I took the car out and it was extremely lean. The car was just not running correctly. I figured something was probably going on, and eventually when I tried to jump start the car, that was the end of it. So that's bad news. But real quick, gonna show you guys something else I did. New clutch master cylinder. The master used to be leaking all over the outside here where it's sitting, and on the inside by the clutch pedal it was leaking really badly, so we changed that. I also went ahead and changed the slave cylinder just for safety. Have to bleed the clutch once, and the clutch actually feels a little better now. Obviously I haven't driven it, but the engagement feels a bit nicer in a sense, so that's something pretty good. And also now I don't have to worry about the leak ruining paint or anything. So that's always great, and a more consistent clutch engagement. So that's what I did off camera with this car. But now let's get into the good stuff. So I figured I can open this up and show you guys what I saw when I opened it up, even if there isn't too much to see, to be honest. You'll see the ECU pretty much looked perfect, but that's not really the case at all. But I'll open it up to show you guys, and also why it's not really worth trying to save, aside from the fact that it's a V1 and it's old and they don't sell for too much. You're gonna see exactly what I'm talking about in a bit. And this box, these are the goodies. We'll get into that in a second. All right, and it's ready to come out. So of course, nothing too out of the ordinary here, nothing too special to see. Of course, you have your circuit board. It looks somewhat okay, actually. Doesn't really look like anything's wrong with it at a first glance, other than two resistors right here. So other than two resistors right here, the camera's not picking them up too well, but other than two resistors that don't really look all that great right there, the ECU seems okay. You wouldn't really guess that anything's really wrong with it. Of course, I'm sure if you tested each individual part, maybe readings will be low and everything. So obviously this doesn't mean that the ECU is fine, but you're gonna see why I say that this isn't even really worth trying to save. Even as a DIY trying to save some money, it's really not worth it. Aside from the fact that the ECU is very important, so of course you shouldn't really skimp out on it. You see these wires here. Somebody tried to fix something. I'm not really sure what could have been wrong with it before, what they tried to do, but that is not factory from AEM. So it's definitely not a good thing, so to say. And well, these ECUs also are, extremely outdated, so you don't have as many people willing to tune them, for one thing. They're just not as good to tune either. They don't have as many features. They can get the job done if you're on a budget, but once this happens or anything like this happens, it's not really worth trying to save it. So now that we covered that, you probably see this box right here and the shirt I'm wearing, VRP. VRP is Velocity Racing Performance. They're a shop based in Canada. I want to say huge shout out to Ryan and the team at VRP for hooking it up with an absolutely amazing deal on this new setup for the car and a bunch of little extras that I never thought I was going to get with all this for the price I paid. So you definitely get my recommendation for you guys to shop with VRP. I'm not sponsored or anything. This is just my recommendation to you guys that might need some parts for your car. This box, you'll see we got a bunch of goodies. Haltech goodies. And got a free lanyard, of course, that came with it. So that's always good. Love free stuff. And you'll see we got our patch harness for the 2JZ in here, which the bag's slightly open when I grabbed it earlier. But yeah, we got our patch harness here, which should be pretty simple to hook up. Then we have a flex fuel sensor right here. I'm not necessarily sure how all of this hooks up, so this will be a first for me. And if anything, I might actually be letting my tuner, Harry Turbo, wire this stuff up. But here you have your GM style flex fuel sensor, dash 6 fitting, so it can go right before the fuel regulator. And pigtails, of course, I detailed earlier. This part right here, though, I'm not exactly sure how this works. It's a first for me, so of course I'm not too familiar with everything in here. Also came with this Titan Motorsports pressure sensor. You're gonna see it right. Let me get this out. Yeah, this 150 psi sensor that can be pretty much used for anything, such as fuel pressure, oil pressure, and such. So that's a nice little extra because my oil pressure gauge does not work right now, so that is actually pretty helpful. Of course, here's the good stuff I never thought I was gonna buy. I never thought I was gonna get to this level of engine management, at least this early on, but I'm glad I did, because that means I don't have to worry about spending it again later. But rather than what I planned of a Haltech Elite 2000, we got a 2500 on our hands right now. So we probably have one of the most advanced ECUs for a street car, and probably all you ever need for a street car right here. Anything more than this, at least in my opinion, such as the 2500T or the Nexus, might be a little bit overkill. But if you got that kind of money, all power to you. I mean, go get that ECU, man. However, just because I got this does not mean that Haltech is the only good option on the market. It just happens that my tuner is best on Haltech, so of course it's always better for you guys to contact your tuner and figure out what they are most comfortable working with, and you make your decision from there. I never really planned to spend on a 2500. It's just the deal was so good with all this stuff, and also Harry kind of pushed me into it simply because it has more features than the 2000, and I wouldn't have to worry about upgrading anytime soon. This thing can even control an automatic transmission. I don't know if I'd ever go that route, but if I do, I'm ready for it. That's the nice thing about spending on your ECU the first time around. There is nothing worse, absolutely nothing worse, than just spending all the money to get this thing set up. Probably about a grand of tuning the first time, the retune, which was 200, and then the value of the ECU, which is probably around maybe $300-400. Having all that go down the drain, even if it was cheap and it did save me money for a while, nothing feels worse than that. So of course, if you ask me, I would much rather tell you, save your money, get the right ECU the first time around, and never have to worry about it again. And once again, a huge thank you to Ryan at Velocity Racing Performance, because without him, I probably wouldn't have gotten this much stuff for the car and wouldn't have been able to make this deal happen the way it did. So I appreciate the great service and also the amazing deal I got on this setup for my car. And well, I'm just glad to have a setup that's good for the long term, not something that's just saving me a couple bucks here and there in the short term. Because because I know saving money is good and all. Because honestly, I was kind of upset when this happened. I really wanted to start saving up for other things in life as well. So I was kind of bummed out that I had to do this soon. But at the same time, the peace of mind you get out of doing something like this is amazing. And at the end of the day, guys, say what you want about things like cheap turbos, cheap manifolds, all that stuff. Some people could get away with that stuff, even if I wouldn't recommend it. But at the ECU, you just can't go cheap on that at all. There's no way you can cheap out on that. That is the brain of your car. It's what has all the fail safes in case something goes wrong to protect your car from blowing up. So definitely, I would say invest as much as you can in your ECU, and not just as much as you can, but into whatever your tuner says he's most comfortable with. As far as what has to change under the hood to make this setup work, we are going to stick with stock ignition for a little longer so I can save up a little bit more to get a better coil setup in the future. I'm really leaning toward 1ZZ coils simply because they fit well and it's a very proven solution. But LQ9 coils are another option. Audi R8 coils are actually supposedly a little more powerful than 1ZZ coils, but they will stick out, so it's going to look uglier. Not sure what I'm going to do with that. And IGN 1A, nothing bad to say about those. Just, you know, they're expensive. It's a very expensive setup. I might decide to either save up for that or just go with the cheaper coil solution later. But for now, I think I'm just going to stick with stock in the meantime, which I'm not really having any issues despite having to run a very tight gap. Our turbo's brand new, we don't have to worry about that. Our downpipe had the welds retouched, we don't have to worry about that. Our manifold was welded up, we don't have to worry about that, at least for a bit. We got to revisit it later on if it does crack open, or if I just get the funds for it eventually. So we'll get to that at some other point in time. But the main thing we have to change is our fuel system. As you see right here, we have to change this simply because these 750s are not really worth retuning on for E85. I'm not going to be able to get that much power out of the car. I have some 2300cc Siemens Decas, or Simon Decas, I'm not really sure how you pronounce that, but I have those. They're getting cleaned up right now just to make sure they're flowing 150% correctly, because they were thrown in the car before when it didn't have the filter and when I wasn't sure if the motor would start up. So of course I decided safety first. Let me get them cleaned up, get them checked, make sure they're flowing, and then I'm gonna throw those in. So that's all I really have to change right now. So despite the unfortunate circumstance of not being able to drive this car, I'm extremely happy that I'm finally going to be able to say it has proper engine management, and that I'm going to be able to crank a lot more power out of this thing right now on E85 than on pump gas. So really excited for that, really excited for the car to hit the streets again, and we'll see what bracket it's in this time. I mean, we beat 550 horse GTR, 500 horse automatic 335, pretty solid competition. So I can definitely say I was happy with the way the car was before this happened, other than the misfire issue it was having due to the ECU. But it's time for an upgrade. We got to get it done. So with all this being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for a lot more on the channel. Visit our website for shirts. So I'm really excited for what's coming for 2021. Bittersweet start to the year, but at the end, it's all gonna pan out. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.